wake up. It's 5, and we're live.
Oh, is this thing on? I don't care. I want him to hear.
This is the Pregame Show, your early morning shot of sports on 95.7 The Game. Come on!
Oh, boy. Trouble in paradise? For Brock Purdy? He's not supposed to throw 2 picks in the fourth quarter. That's not supposed to happen. That's what Kirk Cousins does. That's not what Brock does. Well, he did last night. San Francisco 49ers 17, Minnesota Vikings 22, as the 49ers have lost their second straight on the road. They'll head back home this Sunday to take on a well-rested Cincinnati Bengals team. And that was ugly. Kirk Cousins gashes that vaunted 49ers defense. But maybe I shouldn't use that word, vaunted, because that defensive front had 0 sacks on one Kirk Cousins. Mr. You like that, you like that. Well, he did. He did like that. And for all the talk, all offseason with the quarterback doc, with Kyle Shanahan, his whole tenure, and Kirk Cousins, you had Joe Buck on the morning roast yesterday, talking about, I think it's done between Kirk and Kyle. I just don't see it happening. Just never was in the stars for them to link up as a head coach for Kyle Shanahan. Maybe he's rethinking things yesterday. Relax. I'm not saying move off of Brock, although it was interesting that Brock Purdy kind of played like everyone thinks Kirk Cousins is. He played like the guy everyone thinks Kirk Cousins is. Fine, he's fine, but ultimately he'll make a mistake and he'll lose the game. Now, he didn't last night. In fact, he did the opposite. He made winning play after winning play after winning play. Even after that first interception, which was a hell of a play by Charvarius Ward, who then Jordan Addison, who had a monster game out of USC, fight on, 7 receptions, $123 for 2 touchdowns, and he had that long of 60 right before the end of the half that felt like just a stab in the heart if you're a 49ers fan.
You like that? You like that?
No, Niner fans didn't. I'll tell you that, Kirk. They did not like that. And I want to hear from Niner fans today. 888-957-9570. What was the most frustrating part of that loss? Because I'm going to be honest. For all the flack that I'm hearing, and I'm hearing a lot of it, on the defensive front, and I mentioned it, 0 sacks, you didn't hit Kirk enough. You go out there and score 17 points. You had Christian McCaffrey, you had George Kittle, you had Brandon Ayuk. I know no Debo, no Trent, but 17 points? That's unacceptable. Your defense allowed 22 to the Minnesota Vikings. You know what? In today's standard, 22 points, I'll take that. Given the weapons, and there was no Justin Jefferson. I understand that. Hawkinston, still a pretty damn good tight end. Jordan Addison. Hey, other than Tyreek Hill, he's leading the NFL in touchdowns. Even the rushing, they 3.5 a carry. Not bad. For a team that hasn't, scored a touchdown all year rushing, by the way, still haven't. Some of those red zone play calling, yikes. And it felt like head coach Kevin O'Connell for the Minnesota Vikings, it felt like he was leaving that game on a silver platter for the 49ers to steal. And it had all the makings of Brock Purdy marching that team down on the field. We believe in Brock. He's had a bad game. He's had, actually, prior to that interception, that first one in the fourth quarter, he actually was having a pretty good game. Got sacked once. He had a touchdown, finished the game with 21-30, 272. Pretty solid. But they were bad picks. And it was this one that ultimately did the 49ers in.
Purdy steps through, floats it, he's picked, and that's it. Bynum gets another. The Vikings with another takeaway. And that interception will end the night with one snap to go, and the Vikings are going to move to 3-4.
Vikings move to 3-4. 49ers move to 5-2. And again, they await the Cincinnati Bengals this Sunday at Levi's Stadium, who, again, coming off a bye. So that's not going to be easy at all, even though you are coming home for an afternoon game. 888-957-9570. That's the number to call or text. And yes, it is opening night in the NBA, and the Warriors do play tonight. Maybe we'll have a little preview before we leave today. My predictions for what they're going to do this season. Because you got to do the predictions before the first game. Otherwise, it doesn't count. It's just how it works. I don't make the rules here. But 49ers take the L. Warriors taking on the Phoenix Suns tonight. And Kevin Durant, he better get a loud ovation. Kevin Durant comes to Chase Center. Chris Paul facing off against his old team. Lots of fun storylines, lots of intrigue. No Draymond Green. He will not be playing in this game. I would expect to see a starting lineup consisting of Klay Thompson, Stephen Curry, Andrew Wiggins, Chris Paul, and Kevon Looney. I would expect that. Now, who's going to close? I'm going to expect that same starting lineup to close as well, with no Draymond. So it's going to be very interesting. Prior to that, you got the Nuggets taking on the Lakers. Nuggets, obviously, the defending champions, and the Lakers, who got swept by them in the Western Conference Finals. So rematch there, Western Conference Finals. You got two teams that are hoping to get there in Phoenix and the Golden State Warriors. Two teams that were kind of disappointing in the playoffs last year. Disappointing season overall, even though the Suns did trade for Kevin Durant. Didn't ultimately come to fruition. The Nuggets they were inevitable. They were like Thanos last year. So we'll get all into that all day right here, 95.7 The Game, leading up to tip-off. And we are your home for Golden State Warriors basketball. So we'll have all of that coverage tonight here, 95.7 The Game, leading up to that game. And you'll hear it live from @WarriorsVox, our very own Tim Roy on the call alongside Tom Tolbert. So cannot wait for that. But it's a reaction Tuesday. It's a titillating Tuesday. Not a Monster Monday. It's a titillating Tuesday. Shout out my guy, Rick Tittle. All right? And no, that is not brought to you by First 5 California. Visit first5california.com to learn 4 things you can do to overcome toxic stress. And right now, one of those things for toxic stress is not letting Kirk Cousins beat you if you're a 49er fan. 35 of 45, 378, 2 touchdowns, and he had that pick early on to Jarvarius Ward, which was then negated by a fumble from Christian McCaffrey. And when you learn lose the turnover battle 3-1, it's tough to overcome. It's very tough to overcome. That's why I'm looking at the offense. I am. I keep hearing, oh man, this defensive front, Bosa didn't get after it. They didn't do enough to make Kirk uncomfortable. And now that is true. They did not make Kirk uncomfortable enough. But you got to score more than 17 points on offense. You have George Kittle, All-Pro. You have Brandon Ayuk. He's going to be a Pro Bowler. Oh, Jawan Jennings was making plays. Christian McCaffrey almost had 100 total yards, even with a banged-up oblique. Oh, Brock Purdy was scampering a 17-yard run. You were moving the ball. It was just the attention to detail was lacking throughout the game. Steve Wilkes, Kyle Shanahan, whatever it was, the attention to detail was lacking. And coming off a loss like you did in Cleveland, I would expect more from a Kyle Shanahan-led team. I would expect more. Here's Kyle Shanahan after the game talking about the bad play on defense.
I think assignment was blown on the touchdown, called an all-out blitz, and he's got to get rid of it right away, and he threw it up and got a chance for a pick, didn't come through with it, and they got a touchdown. It's a real bad play by us.
That was a real bad play. Talking about the end of the half play, Jordan Addison rips it away from Charvarius Ward and goes for a 60-yard touchdown. Here it is, Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, ESPN Monday Night Football. Take it away.
3rd down and 6. Blitz off the edge. Cousins throws, and it's taken away by Addison for the touchdown. He and Charvarius Ward fighting for the ball, and this time Addison takes it for the score.
Joe Buck again on the call there for ESPN. 888-957-9570. That's the number to call or text. The Comcast Business Text line, which is always open for business. Always. And shout out to Mark Grandy and Sterling Bennett last night for overtime, doing a hell of a job, breaking it down, taking all your calls. Shout out to them. And we'll also have the kickoff show with Larry Krueger and Lolo Neal this Sunday against the Cincinnati Bengals in Week 8. And they're going to be live from the Hilton at Santa Clara. So come by, say hi to Larry, to Lo, all of them there at 95.7 The Game. 209. And the question is, what was the most frustrating aspect of that loss last night for you at 888-957-9570? 209 Comcast Business Text line. All that is the most frustrating, missed a lot of tackles, couldn't stop the run, no run game on 49ers, bad quarterback play, over/short throws miss, Jake missed a field goal that made the 49ers have to have a touchdown to win, too much bad cornerback, safety play. So Dylan, in the 209, basically everything. That was the problem. Again, I'm putting more of the blame on the offense today. I think I'm going to be in the minority here. But you cannot have 3 turnovers on offense on the road and expect to win. That's just unacceptable. It is. And as the proverbial pumpkin, kind of gotten smashed here with Brock Purdy, we'll see. 2 bad games in a row. I'm calling it bad because his interceptions costed them. They did. You can sit here and say, oh, Brock, he played pretty well for most of the game until he didn't, until they needed him and they had time. Listen, that was on a silver platter for the 49ers last night to steal it when they had no business stealing that game. None. You just look at overall and the yardage of the receiving, 378 to 278, Vikings to Niners. And then you go, check that. Where's my rushing? There we go. And then you go 74 to 65. Like, they dominated in every facet there. And yet, you had a chance to go to win that game. That separates good from great. When you can go out, when nothing's going right, and you can go win that game. I'm not saying, we should all give up on Brock Purdy. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying the man is human. He is human. And I think we might need to pump the brakes on he's having a better season than Patrick Mahomes. Let's relax here. He's having a very good season. He ain't on the Patty Mahomes level yet. Let's all just pump the brakes there. Maybe he gets a get-right game. And it's going to be a tough game. Hey, listen, the 49ers schedule, it doesn't get any easier going forward. Starting with the Cincinnati Bengals, then you're on the road, early start time in Jacksonville. Yes, you got a bye in between there, and they desperately need it. They desperately need a bye right now because this team is banged up. You saw Fred Warner getting banged up. He took a knee to his thigh. You saw Dre Greenlaw huffing and puffing. Maybe he hurt his hamstring again. Not sure there. Debo obviously out next game as well. That's a huge loss. Trent Williams, we'll wait to see what's going on there. Christian McCaffrey had some burst, but the wiggle, still not quite there. And here's McCaffrey after the game talking about, having to take a good hard look in the mirror after a game like this.
Anytime you lose, it's a bad feeling. I think we have a team that's hypercritical of each individual and can't just let it trickle down, and we got to take a good hard look in the mirror. I know I'll do that. I made a bad mistake today that I believe cost us the game if I don't fumble that ball, and so I'm going to put it on me and go from there.
It wasn't the only thing that cost them the game. Again, it was a multitude of things, not just Christian, but that's a leader putting, all the blame on himself, taking responsibility there. Appreciate that from Christian. Shout out Flag and Anthem, the official clothing brand of Christian McCaffrey. Speaking of that, Nick Bosa yesterday. I've seen him all over the place with, Skims? Just Kim Kardashian's underwear brand or whatever. Nick Bosa, Shea Gilgeous, Neymar. Seen all these guys. Well, can we worry about the sacks there, Nick? I mean, I know you're getting all this money from the Skims and you're just signed a massive contract. I would have liked a sack last night. That's it. God love you. Built like an Adonis. It's great. Can we use that on the field, please? Would have liked to see that. Here's Bosa talking after the game.
We have a lot of really good players on the D-line and obviously a lot invested in it, and you have to make the plays when they're there. You kind of get lulled to sleep by some of the protections, and when those ops come, you have to be ready for them. And I'm not sure how it went for the other three guys. I could only focus on myself. There was definitely a couple opportunities there where I could have changed the game, and I need to do that with the kind of player I'm supposed to be.
That's what we expect. The kind of player that he's supposed to be, which is a reigning DPOY. And no sacks last night on a Vikings team that all of a sudden has life in the NFC. We were talking about it yesterday. They were the more desperate team yesterday. They played like it. Kirk Cousins played like a guy that, hey, we need to win this game. If we fall to 2-5, our season might be over. Now they're 3-4. They look at the rest of their schedule. Falcons are on there, Saints, you got the Raiders on there. They're feeling like, you know what? Why not us? Let's go to Panda, who's out in Oakland. He wants to chime in, 888-957-9570. That's the number to call or text. Panda, what's up, bro?
Hey, good morning.
Morning.
Basically, what I'm saying is Christian McCaffrey, I felt like he was being selfish last night, allowing himself to get put in the game, knowing that he's not at 100. You can clearly see like you said, the bursts aren't there. He just doesn't look comfortable running the ball. The fact that he's already given up, 3 fumbles on the season for not wearing gloves, when he should, allow himself to get some rest and let Jordan Mason and GDP to run the ball so that way they can start getting their comfortability for the long haul in the season, especially if we're trying to get to a Super Bowl. You're over here trying to chase touchdowns or consecutive touchdowns, a streak. Like, come on, bro. You should be resting.
No, it's a good point. I appreciate you calling in, Panda, talking about Christian McCaffrey there. And it's tough. Listen, 15 of 45 rushing, got the touchdown, obviously extends his streak. He's now one shy of the all-time record. Was that 16 consecutive now? Just one off. Lenny Moore did it, 17. So, hey, Cincinnati, you might as well just lock it in now. Christian McCaffrey's going to score next week. But receiving, he's still 3 of 51 and another touchdown. So it's not like he had a horrible game. I'm not totally in agreement with Panda there that, it was all Christian McCaffrey and he's just, he's selfish. No. He got cleared, and when you get cleared to play, they're going to use you. Shout out Doc Pandia. Cleared to play. UCSF Health. And that's what Kyle Shanahan says. Hey, if this guy's cleared, we're going to run him. The usage rate be damned. And yesterday, it just wasn't enough. The fumble hurt them. The interceptions hurt them. And that's why ultimately, for me, the most frustrating aspect and the part that I'm looking to the most is the offense. Because that's Kyle Shanahan's baby. And 17 points is unacceptable. I don't care if you don't have Deebo Samuel. You had George Kittle out there. He was open. Brandon Ayuk, open. Juwan Jennings. There was a distribution of wealth there on offense. So 888-957-9570. Again, most frustrating part for you last night in regards to the 49ers loss. Good morning to all of you on Twitch and YouTube. We are streaming all day right here on 95.7 The Game, leading up to Warriors-Suns tip-off at 7 o'clock. And you can catch that live right here on 95.7 The Game with the great Tim Roy. And we'll have all that coverage all day long right here on 95.7 The Game. Good morning again on YouTube. Jason, Ernie, EJ, El Guero, Mentality, all y'all. Appreciate you chiming in. Blue Pogo. Y'all tripping. I don't know what that means, but hey. Jason Mishler, Spadoni. I don't know if I like you, bro. Well, Jason, that's all right. I appreciate you listening. You don't have to like me. That's all right if you disagree. That's fine. 888-957-9570. The defense, you could say it got work that I'm seeing from Miguel Rodriguez Jr. They allowed 22 points. At the end of the day, they allowed 22 points. Yeah, 2 missed field goals. Okay. Niners missed 1 too. But you allowed 22 points. You had a chance to win there. You had plenty of time. You had multiple timeouts, and that game was on a platter for Brock Purdy to try to win it. And you saw how frustrated Kyle Shanahan was when he threw that last pick. Like, oh, God, here we go. Not again. I'm not comparing Purdy to Garoppolo. I'm not doing that. But that's the look of a guy frustrated with his quarterback, and it's rare that we've seen that with Shanahan in regards to Purdy. It is. And here's Shanahan after the game talking about what happened on both those Purdy interceptions.
I thought on the first one to Juwan, he just missed the throw, and I thought he just sailed it a little bit inside, had Juwan right there. The second one, then they're soft as can be, going down without any timeouts, and he tried to lob it over a guy who was really deep, and it looked like the guy climbed the ladder and made a hell of a play.
Let's go out to Ryan, who's going to be out in Seaside. He wants to chime in on a certain defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. Ryan, you're on 95.7 The Game. What's going on, Ryan, in Seaside?
Good morning. Good morning. I thought it was interesting. It sounds funny. I didn't think it was that big of a deal, having a DC up in the booth instead of on the field. But I think about what D'Amico Ryans did and also what Robert Saleh did. When they noticed something with an individual player, they would go up to that player and they talk to him like in person. And I think we're kind of missing that impact, but it's starting to reveal itself, I think, a little bit. You heard what Nick Bosa said last night. He kind of, in my opinion, I think it was directly at Steve Wilks. He said, hey, we're a team that usually we get comfortable rushing for. So all these pressures that he's sending off the corners that quarterbacks can read it right before it even happens. If we can see it just as fans, how do the quarterbacks not know what's coming? And I think it's kind of thrown off their pass rush. And then what Kyle Shanahan said last night when he was asked about, right before the half, that call right there was basically an all-out blitz. He said, I didn't like the result. We're going to have to talk about it this week. So I think Steve Wilks, it's a combination of the players that we've been accustomed to making big plays like Armstead. I haven't heard Armstead's name once this whole season. And then Talanoa Hufanga, I feel like there's some plays to be made out there by our star players. Nick Bosa, obviously, that aren't being made, but I think Steve Wilks, too, is kind of under the hot seat already, only 7 games into the season.
Wow, thanks, Ryan. That's Ryan in Seaside joining us here. Let's go out to Carol in San Francisco. Carol, what's going on? You're on the pregame show with Joe Spadoni.
Thank you, Joe. I agreed with you earlier with your comment about like the attention to details. For example, the one thing that really frustrated me was the touchdown before the half by the Vikings. Warren had an opportunity for a pick, but with only 6 seconds left of the half, I don't understand why he didn't just bat the ball away. And instead of going for the pick, what is he going to do? Pick it and then drop to the knee. There's just a lot of it's frustrating to watch a game like that when we're a better team than what we've been showing. But it's what really concerned me is the defense right now. They're just playing way too soft. I'm not seeing a lot of the aggression or it's just frustrating to after being really excited about this year and seeing how they were firing in all cylinders. Now it just seems like all aspects of the game they're just not focused or just those little details. Seeing them not make those plays, it's really frustrating.
Absolutely. That's Carol out in San Francisco. Appreciate you chiming in there, Carol. 888-957-9570 if you would like to chime in as well. Pre-game show, Joe Spadoni. We're locked and loaded here on the 49ers Vikings all day right here on 95.7 The Game. And plus we'll have a little bit of Warriors sprinkled in. Warriors taking on the Phoenix Suns tonight. Opening night in the NBA, and we'll obviously have all that coverage here because we are your home for the Golden State Warriors right here on 95.7 The Game. Real quick before we go to break, let's hit James, who's out in San Mateo. James, you're on 95.7 The Game. What's going on, man?
Hey, good morning. One thing I noticed last night that I haven't noticed in any game from any team I've been watching all season was how fast Cousins was getting rid of the ball. Yeah. I think, I think really The defensive coordinator should have noticed that and done some press coverage to give those guys time to get to Cousins.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. I appreciate you chiming in there. 888-957-9570. We're up against it. We're going to take a quick break. Come on back. What was the most frustrating part of the Niners' 17-22-point loss against the Minnesota Vikings last night? 888-957-9570. You can also hit us up on Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. I see all of you. We'll get to all of your texts, all of your comments, all of that on the other side here on the pregame show. Joe Spadoni, as we roll on here on 95.7 The Game.
I'm Bob Burke.
Welcome back. Pregame show, Joe Spadoni, 95.7 The Game. Minnesota Vikings, 22. 49ers, 17. The 49ers have now lost 2 in a row. Better not make it 3 heading into the bye. I'll tell you that. And you're taking on a tough Cincinnati team coming off a bye this Sunday at Levi Stadium. Don't lose that one. Do not lose that one. Otherwise, not quite panic meter because, you had that spot. You're still 5-2. It's fine. Don't sleep on the Seattle Seahawks. When you start losing games and they start stacking up and piling up, then you got to worry about your spot in the division. They're a playoff team. They're going to make the playoffs. But you want the path of least resistance, and that's a first-round bye. And right now, you're losing ground and you're losing pace to the Philadelphia Eagles. And what I saw last night, if you're struggling against a Minnesota Vikings front, and Danielle Hunter's having an all-time year, he's a baller. But all in all, the Minnesota Vikings defense, not that great. And you put up 17 points against them, and I understand Steve Wilks, and rightfully so, the team was not buttoned up. The amount of blitzes that the Vikings were picking up constantly, the amount of time that Kirk Cousins had, the amount of last-second dump-offs or throws that he just had just a second left, and it was the first down. It was on a third down, and he got a first, and he got a 15-yard chunk, and he got a 5-yard chunk. The amount of times I saw that last night from Kirk Cousins was pretty unbelievable. That might have been one of the best games I've played outside of, a playoff win in New Orleans that I've seen Kirk Cousins play. He was amazing. He really was. You just have to tip your hat to that kind of performance as well. For as much flack as we give Kirk Cousins this market, not from me, by the way. I've always been a Kirk Cousins supporter. Maybe not to the level of a Matt Steinmetz, but I think you can do very well with their Kirk Cousins. And if you don't take my word for it, just hear what Troy Aikman, as I vamp here because that's what I do. But Troy Aikman, Hall of Fame quarterback, 3-time Super Bowl champion. What does he know about good quarterback play? He's just been, analyzing it and breaking it down now for the better part of 20 plus years as a broadcaster as well. Here's him talking about Kirk last night.
He's been really good here tonight. He sure has. Everybody has an opinion on Kirk Cousins. He's a top 10 quarterback in my book.
Wow. That's Troy Aikman saying that. That's not no one. He's very critical when he's calling games at the quarterback position. Just see Jimmy Garoppolo, NFC Championship games the last few seasons, and Troy having to call them. He's very critical. But Kirk Cousins, tip of the cap, damn near put 400 on Steve Wilks and co. And the play that's going to be circled 1,000 times today is that play before the half when Charvarius Ward thought he had another pick, and Jordan Addison, took it away.
3rd down and 6. Blitz off the edge. Cousins throws, and it's taken away by Addison for the touchdown. He and Charvarius Ward fighting for the ball, and this time Addison takes it for the score.
Certainly did. Shout out to my guy, Cam Williams, who was in the building yesterday, cutting all this sound, getting all the post-game sound in game. Appreciate you, Cam, coming in. I know you're a Niner fan, so it's tough. There's nothing more tough than to cut the audio of when your team loses. Getting paid for it helps a little bit, but shout out Cam for coming in last night, getting all those cuts. I appreciate you here, even if you're not going to hear this at 5:35 a.m., year of our Lord, 2023. 888-957-9570. That's the number to call or text, the Comcast Business text line if you'd like to weigh in. The most frustrating thing was the defense. They were terrible. And they have just been so disappointing. That's from the 650 on the Comcast Business text line. Again, I understand. It was just overall disappointing on offense and defense. The attention to detail, where was it? Now, I'll say the effort was there because they were still tackling hard. Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner, these guys were flying. Hufanga was making some plays, some hits. They're trying to, set the tone physically. And I felt like they did at times. And you juxtapose that with the Minnesota Vikings defense, I felt like they were still whiffing a bunch. A lot of Olay type of tackles for the Minnesota Vikings, but only 17 points to show for it. Jake Moody misses an early one. He redeems himself late. It was really nice to see Kyle Shanahan put his faith in his rookie kicker, making that 50-plus yarder. That was no gimme. There was a lot of pressure on him because if he misses that kick, if Moody misses that 50-yarder last night, he might be gone. He might be. That's the nature of the beast when it comes to kickers. They're a lot like closers. Once that confidence is gone, that doubt creeps in. It's a trickle-down effect. The ball starts rolling down the hill, and it's like this sticky ball of nothingness that gathers everything around it, all the doubt, all the anguish, all the sadness, despair, whatever. And that ball gets huge, and takes up a lot in that brain of yours. And then you're done. But good for Jake Moody bouncing back with that kick. But hey, that first miss still cost him, because if he makes that, you just need a field goal late, and then he has a position to try to win, and then he's the hero. But, the Vikings, they missed their, extra point. They missed a field goal. Greg Joseph, something about Minnesota Vikings and kickers, man, just not great. And again, Kevin O'Connell, the head coach of the Vikings, left that game on a silver platter. I don't know why he didn't go for it when he had a chance early on to take, what was it, a 15 or 16-point lead, whatever. I looked at to go to the field goal. It's just soft decisions. And I thought the 49ers, who were being aggressive, Kyle Shanahan was being aggressive. At the Brock Purdy 4th and 1, they went for it. It was like, oh, maybe the Niners are going to steal this one. But it wasn't meant to be, as Brock Purdy throws 2 fourth-quarter interceptions. And overall, he wasn't awful. It was all right. Good. Okay. I like to say good if you didn't have more, turnovers than touchdowns. And that's what Brock had. So I can't say it was quite good. It was okay. It was an okay performance from Brock Purdy when we've come to expect great performances from him. Kirk Cousins, he was great last night. He was. Pick included. And Charvarius Ward, a lot of people, I heard it was at Carroll and SF, is like, I don't know what Ward was doing, trying to go for the pick there. He was trying to go for the pick. Didn't work. It wasn't like a Hail Mary where he's going to bat it down. He got one earlier on Addison, and Addison got him back. Simple as that. Speaking of the defense in that Addison touchdown, here's Nick Bosa talking about that last defensive play before the half.
We try to emphasize those 2-minute drives, especially going into half and at the end of the game, and we want to get off the field and not give them any points. That was the difference in the game. Called a blitz, I think, all out, and it definitely wasn't, I don't know how the back end feels about it, but Mooney was there. Tough luck for him on that. He was definitely there. It could have been his second pick of the game, and I'm sure he's going to be hard on himself and not blame the call.
Interesting. Was that Bosa kind of indirectly, blaming the call there on Steve Wilks? Like, hey, why are we blitzing? When, we're usually, a front four kind of a team, and then we'll let them beat us man-to-man. Interesting. And now we're getting, I knew the texts were going to start coming. I knew the calls were coming. Why is he up in the booth? We need a feel and pulse. Robert Saleh and D'Amico Ryans, they were down the field. It's like, well, we weren't complaining about it prior to this game, about being in the booth. We weren't. It's just funny how we nitpick certain things about our coaches when things don't go well. Steve Wilks being in the booth does nothing for me. Him being out on the field, great. You think his demeanor would have changed if he's out on the field? The guy's just a very calm, cool, collected individual. He's not a fiery, rah-rah kind of a guy. He's not Rob Saleh. He's not D'Amico. He's Steve Wilks. And that's what he does. Vic Fangio is a great DC for a long time. He's in the booth. Is what it is. That's not what I'm going to be upset about. The call, all out blitz there, probably not the best call, right? But, credit to Addison there, who got punked earlier by Mooney Ward, comes back and punks him. It was a chippy game too late. When Brock threw that second pick, you're getting a little scuffle. It felt a little sore loser-ish from the 49ers part that I didn't like. I was like, all right, you lost. They're celebrating. They're at home. They have the right to celebrate. They're doing all the team celebrations after the picks. You know, when you lose, especially on the road, is what it is. But the attention to detail, I keep coming back to this. Why not just stay in Youngstown, Ohio, like you've done in the past? Why not just stay there? I know the excuses were, it was Monday night. We felt like with the extra day, we can come home. You know, it's good for the players, be with their families, stuff like that. I was like, dealt with that. I'm trying to get a win. And I'm sorry, man. The cross-country trip, whatever it is, the attention to detail, which is something that is synonymous with Kyle Shanahan at this point. This guy lives and breathes detail-orientedness throughout his organization. And yesterday, it was nowhere to be found. 888-957-9570. One more break. Come on back. More of your phone calls, more of your text. What was the most frustrating aspect of this loss? Are you blaming Steve Wilks for it? Kyle Shanahan, Brock Purdy. The blame game starts today. And the Warriors-Suns game starts tonight as the Warriors tip off the NBA season. You got the Nuggets-Lakers prior to that. But Warriors-Suns live right here on 95.7 The Game. Tip-off at 7 with the great Tim Roy at Warriors Vox. We'll have all that coverage again today on 95.7 The Game. Don't go anywhere. One more. Come on back. 95.7 The Game.
Your San Jose Earthquakes have clinched a spot in the Audi 2023 MLS Cup playoffs. The road to the Cup begins in Kansas City when Christian Espinoza and the Earthquakes take on Alan Pulido and Sporting Kansas City on Wednesday, October 25th at 6:30 p.m. Presented by PayPal. Watch the game on MLS Season Pass on Apple TV.
to keep heat in and cold air out, and replace the air filter in your furnace to keep it running at peak efficiency all winter long. When we each share our one thing, it becomes 100 things, 1,000 things, 1,000,000 things for our planet. What's your one thing?
Now, back to the pregame show on 95.7 The Game.
Let's go. It's a pregame show, Joe Spadoni. 95.7 The Game. One more segment here before handing it off to two guys that are going to be fired the hell up, and they are already. Vontae Hill and Joe Shasky in about 15 minutes or so. 888-957-9570. Start lining them up, man. It's going to be a panner day here at 95.7 The Game, as Bonte likes to say. We got Warriors Suns tonight to culminate what's going to be a liquid hot magma day here on the station, breaking down the Vikings defeating the San Francisco 49ers. Niners moved to 5-2. Vikings 3-4. Kind of a season-saving win for them. They fall to 2-5. They're probably done. They played like, the more desperate team last night. They did. Although, Kevin O'Connell, some of the head-scratching play calls in the red zone, the not going for it when you should clearly go for it, when you try to ice the game, but then you miss the field goal, you're trying to make it an 8-point game. It's just all different stuff that ultimately, had Brock Purdy with the ball, a couple timeouts, minute plus, chance to win the game. But he didn't. We're accustomed to Brock being the hero. But he wasn't. It was Kirk yesterday. And on Monday Night Football, he's expected to be the zero. This is his third win. What is he, 3-12 now all time? 2 wins against the Bears and now 1 against the Niners. And by the way, I think it was Bonte and Shasky talking about the stat. The 49ers haven't won in Minnesota since I've been alive. Let me get this straight. The 49ers haven't won in Minnesota since I've been on this earth. That's 30 plus years, folks. The last time the 49ers won in Minnesota. Yikes. House of horrors indeed. Go back to the Brett Favre game. For me, that's kind of my first big memory of a yikes kind of a loss. Yesterday was just a disappointing. It was just a disappointment everywhere. Frustrating, disappointment, whatever word you want to use. I want to hear from you. 888-957-9570. You can also hit us up on Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. I know this jersey was going to upset some people here on the Twitch and YouTube. If you're streaming, you'll know what I'm wearing. If you're not, well, go like, subscribe, and follow us. Then you can find out. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm just wearing, color purple. It's all right. What's wrong with that? Getting a lot of Warriors talking here already. Warriors obviously taking on the Suns tonight. Kevin Durant.
He was a fantastic person to be on our team at the time. For various reasons, he decided for him it was not, he had to leave, whatever. I can't comment on that. I don't know if I understand that. I wish he would have stayed. But the bottom line is I have nothing but the greatest respect. All of us should feel that way. And he should get a massive ovation.
And I think he will, because he deserves it. Now, what's the ovation going to be like for Chris Paul when he's announced in the starting lineup? Because you better believe he's going to be in the starting lineup. I think it's going to be pretty loud. The way they've been playing in the preseason, I think he's ingratiated himself already to Warriors and Dub Nation, right? So, can't wait for that. We'll break all that again tomorrow. I'm going to be honest, though. Getting up, doing the show at 5 a.m., selfishly, those 7 o'clock tips are tough, man. They really are. But we grind. Nonetheless, we grind here. We'll break it all down. Meanwhile, real quick, as we get back to the Niners in just a second, congratulations, Bruce Bochy, in his first year as Texas Rangers manager.
Grounded a second. 2 years removed from losing 100. The Rangers have won the pennant. And they will play in the World Series for the first time since 2011. Their first real chance to make a new World Series memory after the heartbreak of that 2011 season. And plenty of heartbreak along this path that they've been able to overcome, that they've responded to. And they're the champions of the American League, toppling the Houston Astros.
Joe Davis on the call there for Fox Sports as the Texas Rangers and Bruce Bochy are headed to the World Series. Tough day yesterday for the Bay Area at large. Seeing your former manager and the guy a lot of people think should still be here in Bruce Bochy. And San Francisco Giants obviously still looking for a manager. So we'll see. Again, Bob Melvin got permission to interview with the team. So we'll monitor that. But today, it's about the Niners and Vikings. All right, we'll worry about baseball another time. Not today. It's all about y'alls and your calls, as a former host here at the station like to say. 888-957-9570. Kyle Shanahan. Got to take this loss like a man.
Not much you can do about it. I mean, we flat out got beat, and I think right now you got to take it like a man, and we got a game here, and I think tomorrow we wake up, it'll be 5 days from now. We got a team coming off a bye week who's been waiting for this for a little bit, and we can't sit here and worry about what's happened before this. We got to make sure that we do everything from now all the way till Sunday when that game's over to find a way to beat the Bengals, and then we go into our bye week, and I just looked at our guys right now as we got about 5.5 days left. Got to focus all on that and make sure we go in that bye week 6-2, not 5-3.
Short week. Joe Burrow coming off a bye. You're at home. Okay. And then you got the bye week. It's a massive game coming up for the San Francisco 49ers. You do not want to go into your bye on a 3-game losing streak. And, losing to P.J. Walker and Kirk Cousins, it stings. It really does. Joe Burrow's a hell of a quarterback. A hell of a quarterback who hasn't really been playing up to his standards because of his injuries. So it's going to be interesting to see how he looks this Sunday at Levi's Stadium. 888-957-9570. Brock Purdy. Is he going to bounce back? He's, okay. Again, I use the word okay for his performance because I can't say any performance was good when you have more, turnovers than touchdowns. It was okay. For Brock Purdy standards, a little lacking from what we've come to expect. Now, should we come to expect more of this and more of what we saw in the Cleveland game? Because it wasn't very good in Cleveland. And are we sensing a trend here now with Brock Purdy, or are these just one-offs? We'll wait and see. Because the Cincinnati defense, they're legit. That secondary is no joke. Here's Brock Purdy after the game last night talking about the offense feeling good into the second half.
Yeah, we felt good just in terms of, moving the ball. Their defense did a good job with just different looks and switching things up and trying to make us high, trying to drop 8. And so we were still moving the ball, and then we just got in the red zone and stuff and sort of folded at times. And so going into the second half, we felt good just in terms of, hey, we get down there, we just got to execute and be better. We got to play our way of ball. So we felt good going into the second half. But, yeah, that's just sort of how it went.
And here's Brock on his last interception.
Yeah, it was just a bad ball. JJ did a good job on his route, and D-line got a good push on us, and I sort of just was trying to anticipate the throw. At the end of the day, it was a bad ball, and obviously I threw it too far ahead of him. So
it is what it is there. The expression that Senor Sheppy for senior year of Spanish 3 from you would like to say. It is what it is, Senor Spadoni. It is what it is, Senor Brock Purdy. 888-957-9570. Good morning to all of you on the Twitch and YouTube chats powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Start lining them up. Bonte Hill and Joe Shasky will take all your calls all day right here on 95.7 The Game. They're fired up. Steiny and Gil, well, especially Steiny. He's going to be fired up today. He's going to want to hear from you guys. His boy Kirk Cousins put on a show yesterday. And then we got Willard and Dibbs leading us up to tip-off for Warriors Suns tonight at 7 o'clock. Again, all live right here on 95.7 The Game. Man, I honestly, I can't believe how good Kirk Cousins was last night. I can't. I've been a big proponent and big, Kirk's not the problem. He's a good quarterback. But I didn't expect that performance last night. especially with the 49ers coming off a loss the way they did to PJ freaking Walker, an XFL quarterback. And the lack of attention to detail in Minnesota, when in hindsight, you probably should have just stayed on the East Coast because it looked like you were tired at times. It looked like you were just sleepwalking at times, especially in the secondary. The secondary, that's concerning. You're going to be playing against legit number one. They didn't have Justin Jefferson, for God's sakes. They didn't have the best, probably top 2 or top 3 offensive players in the game. You know, it's Mahomes, McCaffrey, and Justin Jefferson probably, right? They didn't have that guy. So they'll lick their wounds. They'll get back at it. 49ers, Bengals, week 8. But for today, we're going to be breaking down Vikings beating the 49ers 22-17. That's what we're going to break down next with Bonta Hill and Joe Shasky. Morning Row. Start lining them up. 888-957-9570. This is the pregame show. Joe Spadoni, 95.7 The Game.